A good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Erev Shabbos, Parshas Shelach. Let's jump right into the question that we're going to ask at the Shabbos table. And this question is a very interesting question. And it's something that there are many correct answers to. I want to share with you today 2 answers, but there are many answers. You ask the question, and then you stop, and you see what everyone else has to say. So the focus of Parshas Shelach is the Meraglim. It's the Chet Meraglim. The Jews sent the spies into Eretz Yisrael, and they ended up coming back with a negative report. And the Yidden got very nervous, and then the big Avera happened, and the punishment happened, and we ended up spending an extra number of years in the Midbar, in the desert, because of this Gefer L'cha Avera. Now, who signed off on this mission? That's the question. Who authorized this mission? So it's Mamish, the second Rashi in the Parsha, where it says the second pasuk, Shlach L'cha Anoshim, send for you, Shlach L'cha Anoshim. Says Rashi, Hashem is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, L'daitcha. This is for you. This is, if you authorize this, Moshe Rabbeinu, you can do it. Ani, but myself, says Hashem, Eini mitzav l'cha. I'm not commanding you to do so. Im tirtza shlach. And if you want to, you can send. It's like kind of like the worst answer your parent can give you. If you want to go out, you want to come back late, whatever it is, they say, do what you want. If you want, you can go. Now, we all know when a parent says that, what they really want, right? If they wanted us to go, they'd say, go, you have my blessing. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu tells you, listen, you have this idea, I don't think it's necessary. I'm not really for it. If you want to do it, you can go and do it. That's not exactly a very positive response. But Moshe Rabbeinu allowed them to do it. I don't think it was a situation where they would kill Moshe Rabbeinu like other situations where he was scared of that. They asked to go. Have Moshe asked Hashem. Hashem said, do what you want, which means don't go. Moshe Rabbeinu kind of gave his blessing and said, you can go. And he davened for Yeshua, but he said you can go. So the question for the Shabbos table is why? If Hashem says, I don't think it's a good idea, but do what you want, which is essentially what Hashem said. So why did Moshe Rabbeinu allow them to go? Sometimes you're allowed to say no to your child. Sometimes it's permitted. So you should have said, listen, I understand that you want to send Meraglim. I'm telling you, Hashem does not want you to go. It'll be better off if you don't go. Just don't trust me. It'll be fine. You'll be okay. Instead of letting them go. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu let them go when he knew, we can argue that he knew something not good is going to happen. When you don't have Hashem's blessing, as you know something not good is going to happen, it's almost as if Moshe Rabbeinu let them make this mistake. Why would Moshe Rabbeinu do that? That is the question for this week's Parsha. Who asked this question? It's not my own question. It's Rav Moshe finds things that's up. Rav Moshe asked this question. But before we get to the Rav Moshe, I want to share with you a nitziv. Rav Naftali Tzvi Huda Berlin Zatzal, the Rosh Yeshiva Volozhin, and the Hemik Dover points out the following point in the pasuk. So Shlach L'cha Anoshim, he quotes the Rashi, that really, Shlach L'cha means it's dafka, not a mitzvah. I'm not telling you to do it. But it says the Netziv, that B'derech Klal, when it says verb L'cha, Shlach L'cha, Lech L'cha, it's a mitzvah, right? It's Kach L'cha, usually K'mashmai, L'cha, for you, is usually a mitzvah. Ela ha'hechrich zok the Netziv, L'farish Hachi, can more specific B'sefer Dvar, but there's something that causes us to explain that this L'cha is different, because in Dvarim it says that it was the Yidden who wanted to do it. But Zok the Netziv, a mikra yoytzei midei pshuta. L'maisa L'cha means a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah. So how do we reconcile these two things? The pasuk in Dvarim says it was the Yidden's idea. L'cha means it's a mitzvah. Chazal tell us that Hashem said, I don't know, but if you want, you can go. Right? So how do we reconcile all these different chazals? Zok the Netziv, it depends where you're holding. This is the Netziv's end. Depends where you're holding. If the Yidden were holding on that darga that they had by Chayriv, by Matan Torah, where they were listening to Hashem talk directly, and they're on that level where Hashem was mamish living in their midst, then you shouldn't go. Then it's Shlach L'cha L'daitcha. I'm telling you, on that darga that you don't have to go and send Meraglim. But if the Yidden are on a lower level, where they're acting more al pi derech hateva, and they can't really handle, as the Netziv says, when Hashem is in their midst, they say one thing, that you're talking in the king's palace about politics. You're in the White House talking about politics. Much more careful what you say than when you're sitting here in Hollywood, Florida. So the Yidden were mamish in the king's palace when they were in Har Sinai. And with the Meissen that we had last week in Baal Oischa, they saw that it's too much. We say one wrong move and bam, the Malchei Kabbalah, the angels come and they kill us. Like, we can't handle being on that level. So the Yidden said, we're going to choose to be, and this is spoken about in the Ramban, which we're going to choose to be on the lower level, where sending in spies is a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to send in spies because you're acting up Pidarach HaTava, you have to send in spies. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu let them do that, not because according to the Netziv, that he knew that something bad was going to happen. It's because he saw that they were on that level. If you're on a higher level, so you don't need the Meraglim. But once they're asking for Meraglim, so that shows that they want to be noig on that level of Derech HaTava. And that's the appropriate thing to do when it's Al Pi Derech HaTava. We say in Yiddish, sometimes, Sufregen is treif. Sufregen, to ask is treif, is also, you shouldn't ask. In other words, once you're asking, it already shows, that a person's holding on a certain level. But in this case, it's not treif. In this case, the Yidden were showing they're on that lower level. So for them, it was a mitzvah. But objectively, Hashem was hoping that they wouldn't be on that level. And it's Shelach L'cha. If you feel, the Netziv is saying, if you feel that's what their hishtadlus requires, then it's a mitzvah. But I'm telling you, they can be on a higher level. Does Zok the Netziv. Comes Rav Moshe Feinstein, the Sefer Kol Ram, written by Rav Moshe's grandson, the shtiklach that Rav Moshe has in the Parsha. So Rav Moshe points out, his question is, he assumes that Moshe Rabbeinu knew that something was going to happen. There would be some fallout, not a good thing, and he still sent him. Zok Rav Moshe that a slave, and they were slaves for hundreds of years, are very much influenced by their ugly. As he quotes Rashi in Vayikra, where the Torah is warning us not to do avodah zarah, and Rashi explains that the slave shouldn't say, if a Yid is sold, if a Yid is sold to a Goyish master, he shouldn't say, my master's doing avodah zarah, I'm going to do avodah zarah. Rashi lists a whole bunch of things, aveiros, that his Goyish master is doing, and the Torah is warning the slave shouldn't do that, because a slave is influenced by his master if he's there for a number of years, and all the more so if he's there for hundreds of years. That's point number one. Point number two is that the Yidden's emunah, their belief in Hashem, the trust in Hashem, was based on nisim, was based on miracles. You had the Aser Makas, you had the Kriyas Yamsuf, you had the Mon. Their emunah and bitachon was not based on intellect. It wasn't based on his hisbonenus, on contemplation of how Hashem has been taking care of them. It was based on miracles. Zok Rav Moshe, when a person's emunah is based on miracles, then they only have that emunah in the specific area where the miracle happened. So they see that if they're running away from the enemy, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will split the sefer. They see if they're hungry, they'll get man. But they don't see that if they're up against 31 strong kings, Hashem is going to protect them, because they weren't misboining. They didn't contemplate that, I see from all these miracles that Hashem Taka runs the world. Each miracle was a show. Hashem showed them in this area, in this Nakuda, I'm in control. But they didn't think deeper than that. They didn't extrapolate and apply it to everything. Therefore, the Yidden wanted to send the spies into Eretz Yisrael, because more than what they saw, they didn't believe. They thought that maybe they're not going to be able to conquer Eretz Yisrael. And we see that was the Aveira, as the Pasuk says, the Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, until when are they not going to believe all the miracles I've done for them? At what point are they going to realize that I control everything? So it says Rav Moshe that Moshe Rabbeinu, in a sense, wanted them to send the spies to have this negative report, in a sense, and to have this fallout, so that they'll see that from that will be misbaining that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Taka controls the entire world. They're going to come back and give a bad report. The Yidden are going to say, oh my gosh, let's go back to Mitzrayim. Hashem is going to punish them. Through this episode, it's going to cause the Yidden to think and realize that really HaKadosh Baruch Hu controls everything. Says Rav Moshe. Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu let them. Hashem could have said no. Hashem said, don't do it. Hashem let them do it. Moshe Rabbeinu let them do it. Even if they're going to sin, many people are going to sin. They're not going to want to contemplate the little Moshe Hashem Yisbarach that Hashem can help them conquer, have them conquer the 31 kings. There'll be a tremendous benefit to this whole episode of the Chet HaMeraglim. There'll be many tzaddikim that will come to emunah through the hisbonenus, through the contemplation that comes as a result of the Chet HaMeraglim. So it says Moshe Chashav Yisod, if a person's emunah is based on inspirational speeches, If a person's emunah is based on an event in life, an epiphany that he realizes or she realizes that, oh, Hashem runs the world, that is not going to be, number one, permanent. And it's only, number two, it's only going to be in that specific area that he or she saw that nace. It's our achrayus, it's our obligation to be misbaining, to contemplate and realize that Hashem runs every single aspect of the world. And if a person's emunah is based on intellectual contemplation, that's an emunah that applies to every aspect of life. That's an emunah that applies, in a permanent way. So both these ideas of the Nitzivim of Moshe are very relevant to us. The person's being makiris b'koinmai. He has to realize what level he's on and act appropriately based on that level. And that's why on one level, there was a disappointment that they sent to Meraglim. On the other level, on another perspective, where they were holding that was a mitzvah, Shelach that was a mitzvah. And according to Rav Moshe Rabbeinu kind of knew what was going to happen, but he saw a tremendous gain. It's going to cause the Yidden to reach emunah and bitachon through intellect, through contemplation. And for that, Moshe Rabbeinu felt that it was worth it to allow them to send the Meraglim. Wishing everyone a wonderful Shabbos.